Hello and welcome to another episode of the Eclipse Exchange Podcast. I'm Louis Dowson.
I'm Aaron Parkin.
And today we're joined by Eclipse Chairman and Founder, Richard Parkin.
Hi.
So Richard, do you want to give us a bit of a background insight personally into what you've been doing in diagnostics?
Okay. Well, I started in diagnostics a long time ago, obviously, as you can see, in 1988, and I started selling diagnostic equipment to the then market, really, which was quite primitive, but everything was huge in terms of the size of the equipment, in terms of the price, and small in terms of what it would do. Really. And they kind of had as much memory as my watch in them. You know, it was really primitive
Basic
stuff. Yeah, that's right.
Of course. And I suppose pre-Eclipse then, before you set up Eclipse, what sort of got you thinking, you know what, there's a hole here in the market, there's a gap for us to go for?
You could see evolution in car industry, vans and what have you. They were evolving, they were starting to get onboard systems, self-diagnostic systems on board. And then commercial vehicles were kind of a little bit slow, but coming on board. And I was thinking, really, if this happens on cars and vans, what's it going to do on trucks where you need safety systems and what have you? And nobody was kind of there, really. And then products started to evolve. And so, I made the jump and started Eclipse with my then business partner, Dave. And we threw ourselves into this market. Really, as I'm sure we'll go on to talk about, really choosing the best product that was available at the time. But also, the most important thing that we identified was the support and backup that is crucial. Because in me coming from an early diagnostic era, if you like, really, it was all about interpretation. You've got oscilloscopes, live data, and whatever. The technician had to kind of decide for themselves. There was nobody to call. They had to be good or not diagnosed.
Or they couldn't use it. And I suppose that comes back to a point that we touched on in the previous episode of, you can have the best diagnostic tool on the market, but obviously we're well known for having our vehicle and our technical support.
That second opinion, really, isn't it?
And still today in the UK, I don't know of any other competitors who have their own technical support. We keep that independent, and it's brilliant.
Certainly to this level. I mean, our competitors will say they have support, but for us, it's a passion of providing the support, fixing vehicles with people and for people, and that. You could say it's ever so easy, really. The customer wants the best tool and he wants the best service and support. Okay, so that's our job to give it to them.
Absolutely.
And it makes
we concentrate
easier
on
doing so as well.
And that's what they're best at doing at. So 16 years later, and plenty more staff members than you and Dave, and obviously when it first started. How does that feel now to?
Good. We've achieved. We've lots of work to do yet, but we've achieved what we set out to do, and really thankful for that. But it all is still because we have the passion to be number one, to offer the best we can out there, and to deliver. Quite satisfying when you have somebody on the phone who's really pulling his hair out and against it, the elements, if you like, really. That vehicle's got to get back on the road, and we've just helped them to do that very quickly. That sense of relief you can feel the customer has. And, it's all part of the service.
Sure. And I suppose moving on to the product, obviously, Kajali, Jalto, who obviously make jaltest, being our core product, our main product that we sell.
Absolutely.
What's it been like over the years working with them?
Well, we when we started out, we started to sell another product in the marketplace, which was kind of the first one out there, if you like, really. So that was great. The problem with that was that there was a lack of consistency, and should we say that the product didn't evolve as we wanted it to. The passion behind it wasn't there. We discovered Kajali and the jaltest product had some really encouraging first meetings, but what came out then from that point was the passion that they have to be the best, to be number one, and that mirrors what we want. So absolutely, we want to give the best product and support to our customers. They want the same thing. What a great harmony. That is.
We follow the same vision.
That's
and
right.
Again, okay, we go back to Diagnostics in 1988, which obviously takes me an hour and straight away out of the picture by some considerable years. But
quite clearly, we weren't born.
What were Diagnostics like in 1988?
A big tool.
Literally.
I mean, we're not talking really commercial vehicle at that stage because they, mechanical diesel engines, ABS was in an infancy. But what we were talking about really was, more car and van related product, but a big computer with an oscilloscope on there, measuring live data. And I mean, limits were starting to come in terms of software. So, the minimum, maximum you should see an item. So it was starting to get there.
There's a need for it.
And then we were seeing early self-diagnostic systems that you were diagnosed through blink codes.
Which is what you said earlier, and we were like,
you guys
totally
I'm not used to blink codes. That's right. But it was a laborious wait, if you like, really. You'd have to trigger the vehicle to give you the blink code. So on the dash or whatever, you'd see a code that would flash, say it was 23, it would flash 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, 3. And
this is completely new to me.
Sorry. So 23, code 23. Let's have a look at that. And it says something like speed sensor.
Great.
So now what do I do? So it was really a primitive diagnostic.
So much actually I've learned this morning that blink codes are attached to the jaltest software, which by the way I had no idea that was possible.
But we knew it was backwards compatible because customers always say to us, look, it's great having the latest jaltest version 9 link and Eclipse test pack, but does it still cover those early
and nothing
vehicles?
drops off. It's not as if we've got to put all the new stuff in. The old ones are there. They're still there. So those blink code systems are still on there, and you can have a look, and it gives you an interpretation. So there's no plug-in, but it gives you the interpretation and that data list, if you like. It's all
some of the more remote regions that we say Wales. We have a lot of customers in those areas who aren't limited to they must have Euro 6.
It must be ultra.
So if they really wanted, they could still be using a blink code facility on jaltest.
And they do.
Cool. So after the whole blink code era, shall we say, then at what point did we start having fault codes on screen with descriptions?
Not long after that. I mean, I think braking systems were probably the first ABS, if you like, really, where we're starting to get more plug-in diagnostic, but still basic and slow in what they would do. So what we're talking about really is the self-diagnostic system, a computer that on the vehicle that was able to diagnose its own problem.
Essentially, vehicles are getting smarter at this point. So
that's right. So,
with the times,
but there's a limit to how much they were programmed to do. So then, we're plugging into it. We're getting that basic, albeit slow, still information. But I mean, in those days, it doesn't do anything like it does now, where now we have linked diagnostics where it will give you a good fault code description. And link into the technical information and show you where the component is, show you the test value of what it should be, the wiring diagram,
and troubleshooting as well. So all from one fault code.
Take you on the path of repair from that fault code. Nothing like that. Still, it was. There you go. It's a rough description of a fault that is just seen.
And a conversation we had recently as well. The amount of ECUs we have on vehicles now, as opposed to maybe back in the day in the 90s, where you only had maybe 2 or 3 ECUs,
upwards of 40,
at
least.
Nowadays,
that's right.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it really? If you look at electronic content per pound value now as to what it was then, there's an awful lot of money in the electronics now, and there wasn't. I think the most sophisticated thing was a radio in electronics. But now we're into multiple systems, and we're only here. The future has a lot more of this to come. Which we'll talk about.
So these machines that you'd have to put on the back of a trailer, then, which is still crazy.
You push it into a trailer like a horse box and turn up and wheel it out.
Always makes me laugh as well. So what were you towing it behind? Was it must have been an old...
Yeah, it was a Ford Sierra Estate. Was the latest in technology for salesmen.
The ideal tow car at the time.
That's right.
The ideal company car. So what was that like to demo? If you were going to go out to see a customer?
I think, hope and pray, really. That,
bit of good luck.
Yeah, that's right.
Please work.
Because then it was a tool, if you like, really, but you kind of had to know your stuff to sort that vehicle out. And many times the people would say, okay, well, if it fixes it, I'll buy it. Okay, great. So you'd work hard and try and do that. But it was a bit of luck if you could actually, come to that, because there was no technical support to call like you guys have the luxury of.
I can do my job without it.
It's easy.
And that's it. So obviously, as vehicles have got smarter, the technologies had to move with it. And back then, it was as good as what the vehicles were, weren't they? So
and even going back to when, obviously, before my time at Eclipse, before your time at Eclipse, technically, when I suppose you would be going out, you were telling me you go out on summer holidays.
Yeah, school holidays. What else do you do? Go out with your dad to work. But I can remember going over to Ireland, I think 3 or 4 days, wasn't it? Doing a bit of a tour around around Ireland, and went to one place in particular, didn't we? And obviously this was when technology was getting smarter and the product was really, really getting better. I mean, I'll let you sort of quote because it's better coming through you. But
I think you're thinking about the guy where we turned up early one morning. We did a demo, ferry, sorted his vehicles out, and he said, I woke up today telling myself I wasn't going to buy this today. And he bought it.
To which as a kid, I mean, I didn't probably appreciate it at the time, but you look back at that, I mean, it shows how good that bit of technology is.
I think it was a compelling argument, really. And he answered all his questions, and there was no reason not to buy it. That's right, exactly. And, still a customer today, still getting great support with a great piece of kit.
Yeah, exactly.
And back then, obviously, the whole technology was new, which means obviously for commercial vehicles and maybe even cars at the time it was new. When you got to the demo, was it you could plug into anything, or did you really have to? No,
I think in terms of now what we're talking about, early days of Eclipse, if you like, really, we'd turn up to a demonstration, really having a good look around as to what they've got, wanting to choose the vehicle ourselves.
To show it off,
hoping that in those days, we're talking 2005, hoping there was an Actros in the yard or something, or a Scania 4 Series or something like that, that had modern diagnostics that we could. So it was very much choosing the vehicle to show somebody on, which, it was demonstrating what it's capable of, perhaps in the future, but it was very sketchy in those days because a lot of stuff it wouldn't do. And I think that definitely these days customer chooses what we want to plug into.
We say, well, what do you want to plug into?
What do you work on?
We have the confidence to walk in there and anything we can be to plug into. Where again, sometimes makes us laugh. Where some competitors are still operating that way. So we know.
See, your guys are so lucky to have a brilliant product that you can turn and the customer decides what you plug into and do.
We don't have the stress of trying to find something it does
You've
work
done that
on.
bit for us.
And I suppose another thing that makes it easier for us is a lot of the data now that comes with a fault code, a lot of these troubleshooting steps that we were talking about a second ago, is it's not always a manual check that you have to go. You don't have to take the engine apart anymore to find this component and take it off and have a little look at it. Has it got visible damage? You know, nowadays we've got sensors and all sorts of different electronic components that half the time on jaltest, when you pull up the troubleshooting, there's a hyperlink there to activate that
test
component.
within a test, if you like, really. So
Yeah.
it's telling you the area of the problem and what it is, but just go through and run this extra test
before you go through
before you go and buy parts.
Saving time having to go and do some manual check.
In a previous episode, but it saves that whole sort of knock-on effect of throwing parts at a vehicle and actually not fishing for it in the software. It's linked.
Rules out human error.
It does. It does massively.
And I suppose what's changed in terms of demand? Obviously, we were talking a second ago about, well, maybe back in the day, you know, it was basic diagnostics for braking systems because they had electronics, they had ECUs, and then maybe what came after engines. You know, how has the demand changed?
With high pressure injection systems then coming to the market, electronic. More and more sensors and components within them that need to be looked at, and they have a knock-on effect, if you like, really. So the whole thing started to get really interesting then.
I suppose where it was once a luxury, it's more now a necessity.
Well, that was the change in it, really, that it's no longer just a diagnostic tool, because it has to be used for service, routine maintenance, clutch resets, air dryer resets.
You can't change a light bulb now sometimes without that vehicle not being able to start. So it's no longer just a luxury, it's a necessity for the workshop.
Version 4 Volvos, exactly that. You have to take it down to the dealers. You can't just buy an air dryer, fit it, and away you go. It needs to be programmed now. You need to program the whole APM unit.
Talking of the dealers as well, and that was one of the early problems that we had. Really, we were selling multi-brand diagnostic products and solutions, and the people who didn't like it, they were a little bit worried, if you like, really, were the dealers, the vehicle manufacturers. So to a certain degree, there was a bit of a battle on between us. They didn't like us out there because they thought we were taking work away from them. What the customer was doing really, being a general repairer, if you like, really, or a haulier, was really protecting themselves from the waiting times of the dealer, because they were getting busier, because they had all these systems on and what have you, that they were able to do their own. In charge of their own, destiny in terms of repair. But before too long, the dealers came round because they also wanted to do multi-brand work. They also wanted to take on the contracts and the trailers and like commercial as well. And what they're doing also is securing their customers, because they might have a customer that's got 5 of their brand, but they've also got another 10 mixed of other brands, but they want to bring them into their dealership, and what's going to happen? They go there, they give them good service, they might just replace the whole fleet as their brand. They tapped into this and went our way, and now really good customers are dealer.
Sort of friends and partners really now. So I mean, across the south, so we've just supplied across to Wessex staff. And sort of having that confidence now of being, as you say, completely backwards compatible. But now, when we were there, being plugged into unregistered, unplated vehicles, and for the dealers having that capability of plugging into a brand new vehicle.
I suppose they think they're being smart. Oh well, plug into that, the brand new unplated vehicle.
Straight in. And they loved this kit because, in fact, actually, their customers also loving this kit, and them sort of doing that for us.
I suppose that goes back to the passion of jaltest, following our vision as well, and suiting us so well, but keeping up with the manufacturers, making sure that when a new vehicle does come out, jaltests are on it. They're reverse engineering the data, or they're going out there and getting the data wherever means necessary to make sure that they're able to add that vehicle to the software as soon as possible.
So not only really deep in the truck and trailer and bus and coach, excellent. But other modules come into the software as well, the MHE, the off-highway, the agricultural, marine,
now
you know.
as well.
So and where's that going to go? You know, I mean, what other vehicles can we add on?
I think there's so much more sort of space really there
to keep going, and the market just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these vehicles, these machines, I remember agricultural when I first, you don't even have to go that far back, 5-6 years ago, I'd have a lot of agricultural mechanics, technicians, operators sort of say to me, it's definitely going that way. It's been going that way for a long time. And you only have to look at the machines now. Sometimes they're just as complex as the cars or trucks, sometimes even more
absolutely
so.
Sure. Hydraulic systems and what have you,
valves, etc.
And I think that's the thing really. It's really deep in every module that it covers, with the technical information, with the link diagnosis and what have you.
And every update, I suppose, if we look at the sense of jaltest, every update, what they're bringing out, what they're adding to the system, and with it all being backwards compatible, what was it like maybe dealing with other manufacturers of tools in the past that we've sold? As you mentioned, updates and what have you, one of the frustrations in the past with another product that we used to sell was that you do an update, or a customer would do an update. So we're kind of taking money from the customer for subscriptions, passing it on to the supplier, and customer updates his tool thinking he's getting, an enhancement, a benefit, which they were, but noticing that stuff they were using yesterday had gone. And that became a big frustration for us. I've got to say, something we don't get with Kojali and jaltest. It just keeps being added to.
It's only ever getting better.
Exactly. And I always used to think, why am I being asked this? Why is a customer asking me on a demonstration? Are you going to take that away?
And I get this as well. And to which no.
We sort of didn't understand initially why the customer was asking
a
us.
story. You don't realise why. This is why.
And I suppose now, if we're talking about the other modules, what is the future for heavy duty diagnostics? And it's something that we're talking about daily now is sort of remote diagnostics.
It's like Back to the Future, this.
In fact, should we call the video that? We might call the video Back to the Future. There we go. That's the name.
We'll all be driving DeLoreans.
Ben, there you go. That's what we're calling this podcast episode.
Absolutely, the future's exciting. We're already there with it, if you like, really, because we've got ADAS systems on the vehicles now. So I think we're on the journey towards fully automated vehicles, if you like, autonomous
they're already
vehicles.
Semi-autonomous, aren't they, really?
That's right. So we're on that journey, and in the way of safety systems, so you've got radar,
lane deviation,
automatic
braking, automatic steering. There's so many elements to it, actually.
So with the equipment now, we have the ADAS rig, and with the jaltest tool, we can calibrate. If a vehicle has an issue, had an accident, say, or just general, or windscreen replacement, or just general maintenance, the setting and adjustment and calibration, if you like, really can be done with the jaltest ADAS kit.
Sure. And I suppose on the ADAS side of things, it's again part of the future, and obviously the autonomy that we've mentioned. I was reading that if you actually think, there's still a lot of Euro 4, there's still a Euro 5 vehicles, that is sometimes even Euro 3 that haven't got any ADAS systems. No. So if you think of maybe the small percentage that are running advanced ADAS systems, the advanced driver assistance systems, for anybody who doesn't know what ADAS means, but 44% of commercial vehicle collisions have been reduced just by implementing ADAS. These radars, the lane deviation, as we say, and we can calibrate all that stuff.
It shows how important it is at that point.
And how dangerous it can be if it's not calibrated. Because the system thinks a person on the path is on the path, or
or not seeing
the person on the path,
Yeah.
or thinking the person on the path is actually in the road, and activating the brakes. So it's really important that it is spot on. Exactly.
Yeah. I think there's regulations. I know that a lot of them are still being ironed out, and I know maybe even the car world, because car does seem to sort of, the commercial vehicle does seem to follow what happens in the trend of cars, but there are regulations that are being ironed out in terms of you must have these systems calibrated now, otherwise you're breaking the law. And that's going to be a big part of it. Is
of course
eventually, if you look at the manufacturers at the moment, over the last few years, ADAS systems have been they've tried to keep it in-house, and they're going to have to eventually release that data. So everybody has at least the facility or the ability to program and calibrate these ultimately safety systems.
Sure. But you mentioned, correctly so in some cases that, truck follows car in some cases. So in ADAS, you would say that probably is the case, but in a lot of cases, truck is there first. And if you look at EBS, and the cars only have ABS. Currently, but electronic braking system that it's talking between suspension and brakes, making compensations and what have you, and a lot of other systems on truck are well out there in front of automobile.
And I suppose we've covered the ADAS. What about the sort of telematics side of, which is familiar? A lot of companies are running telematics at the moment, but what is our product? What is the jaltest?
And this is our exciting future.
This is it.
Really.
Yeah, exactly.
Telematics, as we all know in the commercial vehicle world, is a device that gets fitted to the vehicle, that stays on the vehicle, that is pinging data, saying where the vehicle is, so you can plot it on a map, you can see its fuel consumption, you can see the normal, as we class telematics kind of benefits.
But I think being jaltest, it goes a lot deeper than that as well.
Exactly.
So,
and for a diagnostic company,
it's got
really, what we need really is a telematic product that we can actually diagnose the vehicle remotely.
This is the exciting bit.
Telematic companies have always been seeing, fault codes, hexadecimal codes, if you like, really, but not been able to
do anything with them, or not
convert them or
I
interpret what it's saying. But of course, using the jaltest software, it now is able to diagnose a problem, look at live data, preventative maintenance, so it can stop or tell us there's a problem with a vehicle that's got a temperature problem.
Content.
You're just about to blow the gearbox if you don't pull over now. That type of thing, saving the operator an awful lot of money because of that. But also, if it knows the problem, we can see that problem. We can order that part for when that vehicle comes back in, ready to go. Stick it on and a vehicle back on the road again,
and then use the jaltest software to calibrate that. As an operator, as a repairer, or mainly operator in this case, why wouldn't you want this on your fleet? I suppose. Because it's plotting the vehicles and going much further.
So this does exactly the same as all the other telematics products. So you're not exchanging one and missing something else. You're getting all the plotting and all the mapping. Fuel consumption data, that type of thing. But the great benefit is you've got diagnostic on board wherever the vehicle is in Europe. You can see it, you can have a look at its diagnostic, or it will ping us or the operator a message to say it's got this fault code.
It's a bit like a virtual technician as such. You're going to be able to feed data back to a technician who doesn't have to go out on a breakdown all the time. There may be times that you're still going to have to go out on a breakdown. I'm sure it won't eradicate that completely, but just being able to look at data and think, actually, I know what this fault is. I've had this one before. Rather than me going out on a breakdown and ordering parts and then going to collect them and then going back to the vehicle, you could think, actually, I've had this one before. Let's order a part. I can tell the driver to keep on going. At the moment, looking at the data, it's not too severe. Get that part, so when the vehicle does come back, fit
or
it.
If it is, stopping that vehicle before it happens.
Absolutely.
Before it blows the gearbox, let's get this vehicle stopped now.
But even more important, our technical team can log onto the vehicle as
Exactly.
well
So
and
again,
have a look, and you can get, as they're doing now, the conversation between them, and the assistance, the technical information, the technical assistance, as the vehicle is still remote.
That's it. At that point, again, that second opinion of what should you think I should do it. Should I stop the vehicle at this point? Would you let it carry on?
Depending on the subscription, we can offer that service to the fleet operator, that we are informing them that there's a problem. We've had a look at it for you already, and this is what you need to do.
And customers are asking about these products. Are they coming? What sort of stage are we at with
ready
telematics?
To go. Readily available, and being fitted into vehicles as we speak. So fleets are taking this on, adopting it, and this is bus, coach, truck, trailer, and planned agricultural machines.
Wow. And what is it? A dongle that plugs into
a device that's fitted to the network, and it's kind of a passive, so it won't disturb the vehicle or disrupt it or whatever. It's a listening device, if you like, really. But still, we're able to make a certain amount of adjustments and calibrations and settings and what have you that needs to
remotely.
Remotely.
Well, if it goes into, how is that going to work in terms of sort of force regens? Then maybe if it's a bit of machinery on site in a safe location, are we going to be able to remote
it allows where safe, and obviously the preconditions must be met,
which jaltest is already very good at.
That's right. And then these type of things can happen remotely. It's using a very similar jaltest software. Some things you will need to have the vehicle in and physically plug in,
of course,
because some things are just not safe to do on the road. But it's given you a huge proportion of capability on the road.
And we're always mentioning regens because they're such a big thing at the moment. But
it is.
If we're talking about the future, regens may become eventually a thing of the past. A primitive. We might be thinking in 20 years, God, what was force a regen? Electric vehicles, hydrogen.
Exactly. There is the future again as well, and electric vehicles, hydrogen. It's an interesting play out at the moment to see which one's going to win. But I think they've got places for each of them. So because of the expensive batteries, the huge batteries that would be needed for commercial vehicles, perhaps an alternative is probably the way to go, and that being hydrogen. And one of the companies that seem to be focusing on that at the moment is JCB. Kind of heavy focus on
hydrogen digger.
Hydrogen.
Very nice machine.
And hydrogen, to be honest, is more of a sensible idea. I mean, certainly to me, it's using in the machinery world where you can't stop and charge it for 2 hours, an hour. They haven't got that sort of time. So hydrogen,
all the facilities, sometimes it's just not safe. Can't, where are you going to put a recharge facility on a quarry?
Ultimately, you're building something, so you're going to have an infrastructure there built already.
You're not talking about miles that you can probably calculate and pan out. You're talking about all sorts of different work, hours of work, really, that's different. But perhaps the third, option is that they're trying in Germany now, which is a bit like the old trolley bus, really.
I know you like this idea.
Which is electric rails or wires on a motorway, and a kind of a bar that comes up like an old trolley bus used to do.
Well, I don't remember that, but
no, I don't.
Okay.
I've seen pictures, but it literally, like a train, if you like, really gets its power.
We've watched this video,
and charges batteries whilst it's driving.
And what I think is so fascinating about this is it uses ADAS for this system. So the lane deviation of this truck, it uses a ADAS system and the lines above the truck. So
it's a designated lane you could use for trucks, commercial vehicles.
That's right.
going from point A to point B regularly.
Other vehicles can use the lane as well. But it just means that the electric rails are above it.
Sure. Being used by the vehicle in front of you.
That's right.
So like a tram setup.
Again, like I said, old technology, but that's again now coming in.
So electric vehicles, hydrogen, and electric vehicles, hybrids. They're already on.
They're already on the software and being added by every single update.
And that's interesting because people say to us, well, the future for you won't be very good for electric vehicles.
Well, I've actually had this.
Quite the reverse. There's a lot more systems on electric vehicles and the autonomous side. For every electric motor, you've got some control units as well. So by taking away the diesel engine doesn't mean at all that it's actually the opposite. We need to look at a lot more systems.
We've both had this thrown at us, I suppose, and that's been the answer. Well, no, if anything, the vehicle, the software is going to be better.
It's going to benefit us in a way when we do add more electrics to these vehicles. Anymore, that it's just crazy. Just we're going to have to add even more electrics. They're just going to have to become electric vehicles because they've already got.
If we're talking about benefits, the point is to benefit our customer, and to reassure them that we have the development, the product will and does now cater for and go on to cater for those new additions in the market.
When the bus industry, I know we've done a lot with the likes of TfL, etc., on these electric buses and coaches, and there's a variety of different manufacturers out there. One in particular I know are making big waves in the market in the more the light commercial vehicle, but they are delving into the bus world. Is Arrival, a British company making
which is nice to see.
Small commercial vehicles, for the couriers. I think I don't know if they've just signed FedEx or UPS signed a deal with those to supply electric vans, totally eradicating the problems that the couriers have with DPF and AdBlue issues, etc., and not being able to get up to temperature in the cities. Eradicating those problems altogether. And obviously if you're in the city, hopefully the electric battery can, or if you're popping around the town constantly making deliveries, you're not going far, hopefully the battery can keep up with the customer's demands. And then the hydrogen side of things, it's not just JCB. You were telling me earlier that there is actually a truck.
Nicola, I'm just following that again because I'm interested to see which of these evolutions, if you like, sprouts up for what type of vehicle, if you like, really. But they're obviously it's interesting then to see that there's a truck manufacturer concentrating on hydrogen
how they're moving with the times, I suppose, and what their choices are.
And I think each have a place. Electric and
it's not going to be one or the other.
Absolutely. So I
think for wherever you are, one will suit better than the other. If you're in a busy city, then sure, electric is probably the go-to. But on a motorway, then like back to the idea in Germany, I mean that is fantastic.
Sure. So there you have it from the Titan of industry.
Oh gosh, making blush.
And moving on, we wanted to cover a couple of things that have happened at Eclipse. Some great things that we've implemented over the last few months, and actually even sooner than that, last couple of weeks maybe now. The E-Shop,
the new release of that, which is all online now. I'm sure the links will be in the description of the video, but. So certainly nice to see now that the NOx sensors, cables, just a click of a button on the website.
AdBlue cleaning, all sorts of different jaltest tools. You can go on our website, at the Eclipse website, and order a cable straight off there, and get it delivered.
We're obviously still very keen to talk to people. And people can give us a call and talk about any of these products. But from a customer point of view, it's nice that any time of the day or night as them operate, can just go on there and order the part, and we get that on an early shipment and to them. But NOx sensors is one of those areas that it's very interesting, isn't it? Really, so we've got a good alternative product made by Kajali, and it's fitting the bill, and it means that we we've got stock.
Yeah.
We can get it out to them next day.
Yeah.
It's a great, great reliable product and interesting prices.
Yeah, and that's it. Again, throwing it back to probably earlier and another video as well. Well, Kajali, who make jaltest, they make their own knock sensors, so the kit has to be good enough for that component.
Like all the braking components that they manufacture. Fan clutches and whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that puts confidence in us selling the product that, it's absolutely going to be good enough on knock sensors because they make their own components. Yeah.
Well, quite rightly, as Richard just said, if you want to speak to somebody at Eclipse regarding any of those, the jaltest diagnostic tools or parts that Eclipse supply, get in touch with us or visit our website. And it's the same again for the telematics product that we've obviously just been releasing and testing. That's ready to go now. If you do have a large fleet of machinery or commercial vehicles, we're ready to supply you with these telematics systems. Reach out on the website or the numbers provided. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Thank you.